Welcome to our Budget 2025 review. The full video on this, we dissected it based on the information to get you out. We're doing this as it happened on the 26th of November. We're going to cover the good, bad and ugly. There's a lot, unfortunately, bad and ugly, but there is some little bit of good. The key thing of this budget is make sure you soak the advice, find out the highlights and review it and speak to your accountant tax advisor after watching this video to implement. Enjoy the content. We're obviously going to start with the good part of the budget, November 2025. That's the UK budget, November 2025. We're going to look at the whiteboard. I know there's not much on there. We've got about 5 areas that we're going to cover. That's the good part. Number one, UK government, i.e. the Labour government, and the Chancellor has just stated that they're going to increase the grants to incentivize people getting electric cars. I know there's mixed bag on that, but I thought I'd start with that. They're increasing it to 1.3 billion for electric cars. Secondly, they are increasing before they put duty from 40k to 50k. And you think about in the UK, any decent electric car, it costs quite a bit. And if their value is over 40,000 to 50 right now, you're going to get a benefit when they do that. The third one, anyone who's got a company car scheme and for benefit in kind, they're going to extend the benefits to April 2030. There's loads of little aspects around it which is favourable to employees, but they are going to lose them, but they've extended that. The big part, number two, I know this is a bit controversial, but someone who's been in a big family, getting rid of the child benefit, 2-child cap, I think is a good thing from April 2026. And for me, I'm a big fan of that one. I think that is a good arrangement change because at the end of the day, for me, the children, it's not their fault. They're in big families. I thought that was common sense, but anyway. Number three, inheritance tax. This is a double-edged sword and we're going to get onto it later, but I think this makes common sense. They've introduced a tax from April 26, inheritance tax on trading businesses. What they've done is they've allowed you to pass the £1 billion allowance that you're going to have for trading businesses to your spouse or your civil partner. Common sense, but at least they've done something. Number four, I've got quite a few clients and I'm sure there's a lot of people watching this who run hospitality, retail and leisure businesses. We haven't been put a date, but they're saying that they're going to reform business rates for them and they're going to fund it from online businesses or people who've got businesses like have warehouses, which we'll see if that's going to, what impact that's going to have, because $500,000 for a commercial property isn't that much. So it's going to be, how do they implement that? And we're waiting for more details. Number five, many people running businesses will know that hiring young people between 18 to 25, I normally say, or 25 above, is a bit of a challenge. This should help when we get more details by having fully subsidized training, because our youth are so important for any of our businesses. And this is one thing I've been going on about, that they're getting priced out because they haven't got the experience, and this will hopefully give them experience. I hope that's been used on the good part. Now we're going to get onto the bad part. Now, November budget 2025, bad news. And we got it on the whiteboard. I'm summarizing 4 things. I am looking at it from an entrepreneur, business owner perspective, as well as the people who are going to be affected. And you may have different views, but this is what it's all about. Number one, what are they doing? New car tax, basically. They have said it's from April 2028. They're going to charge 3p in the mile if you got an electric car after incentivizing it. Are being affected. It's still valuable having an electric car in the company, but this is going to diminish that return. The other bit is if you've got a plug-in hybrid, you've not escaped either, so don't be smiling. 1.5p in the per mile, and it's going to be interesting to see how easy is it for them to get this information from people and what mechanisms are they going to use to track that. Number two, this is an interesting one where people investing in a cash ISA, that they are going to have a reduction from April 2027 on how much they can put in in the wrapper from 20,000 down to 12,000. A lot of people hold lots of different things in the cash ISA to shield it on income tax, capital gains tax, for example, and that's what they do it for. However, there is an area for investments which they're trying to push you into, like stocks and shares, and I'm sure there's going to be preferred ones where they're saying you can still get the 20 if you do it. One thing, if you're over 65, you are outside the scope currently. Watch that space. Number 3, this one is borderline bad or ugly, and we'll get onto the ugly, is the pension contributions for salary sacrifice. They're going to attack this post, I'm putting April 2029, they did say 2029. They're going to limit it to £2,000. I think she already knows she may not be in power. That's why she's done that one, because that's going to affect so many people. What does it actually mean? When you put a salary into a pension, right, you normally, if you don't, you pay income tax and national insurance. With salary sacrifice, you get an additional benefit. The national insurance that you would pay, you don't. And the employer also gets that benefit. She's going to cap that part to £2,000. You still get the income tax relief. The employer still will get, if they got a company, corporation tax relief, but what they won't get is on the salary sacrifice is a employer saving. If you're an entrepreneur, an employee will not get national insurance above a 2,000. I think that's a huge step backwards. They will not get the money. They reckon they're going to make 4 to 7 billion, according to the Chancellor today. I think she's I don't know what she's been having, but it's not legit, because that's not going to happen. Because what's actually going to happen is people are just not going to contribute the same amount, and then we're going to have a bigger problem because their pension will be smaller in the future. That's my view on that. Number 4. This was also a borderline. I'll try to put something in just bad news. Wait till we get the ugly. This one is actually probably the worst news for everybody, and you'll be like, Z, you're talking from an employer. Yes, I am, but also from a young employee perspective, because we do employ young people. We've got Alfie here and many others who have gone through the different stages, and we love recruiting and talented youngsters to help grow our business and grow into our culture. But this is a big obstacle for them as well as the employer. 21-year-old, you're going to be paying £29,200 as an employer on a 37.5-hour contract. That includes salary, pension, employer national insurance. Put the bit on the bottom on the I as well. You know that I'm really annoyed about that. Missed the I bit. 18 to 20-year-old, 25,000. That's what it works out on as the company. This, and then if you've got a 16 to 17-year-old apprentice, £18,400 it's going to cost you. This is becoming a bit ridiculous, because unfortunately youngsters need experience. They need to work up, and this has a knock-on effect, not only for them not being able to get jobs, it also causes a knock-on effect to everybody else. This actually causes huge inflation, because people now will expect more for less. And that's why I don't think it's great for the economy. That's my view as an entrepreneur, as well as someone who's employed staff who wants to employ people. You're just going to reduce headcount. That cannot be growth for the United Kingdom. And a lot of people will be outsourcing abroad. That's my view on it. Hope the bad news wasn't too bad. We're going to get onto the ugly next. The third part of budget in November 2025 is called the ugly part. And I know a lot of people love the controversy, so I'm going to get straight into it. There's 5 areas that I'm covering. The first part of the ugly news, it has to be said, income tax and national insurance. And I love leaving my eyes without the thing, because I'm so annoyed about these thresholds. They're going to hold the thresholds for another 3 years to April 2031. So that means they would have been held for almost a decade. It is disgusting. That is one of the biggest tax rises that we've seen in the budget, and a lot of people won't know. So what she's actually done is hurt all the working people by doing that, and she was so anti that. Shows you what the level that we're talking about. Number 2, this clearly is a breakdown of policy, because what she's done is actually increase income tax by creating different categories of income. So she's basically said property tax rate is going to be different I don't even recall when this was, someone will probably mention in the comments, but I think it's been a long time since we've had different income tax rates for property, savings and normal employment income. She's putting it up by 2% across the piece. That's huge. That's going to come in from April 2027. I think she's probably going to see, can the tax system be set up to be able to do that? That's why she's delayed it. A lot of fun. Number two part of that was savings tax. So now people who are saving money, which is supposed to be what they're supposed to be doing, are going to get penalized if they don't get tax planning and how they wrap it. So this is going to cause more challenges as well. That's also going up to 22, 42, 47. The one that has wounded me as an entrepreneur and many others is the dividend tax. I've got to say, this shows you the current regime do not know anything about business, because they've just put the dividend tax rate up to 10.75 and 35.75%. That's what it works out as. And that's from April 2026. What they don't understand is if you are taking risk as owning the business, that's what I'm mentioning here, your employees are earning more than you who are running the business and taking the risk. I don't know what to say anymore. So if your basic rate earning 50,270, you're going to pay £1,908 more, which is 18.1% more tax than your employee. Let that sink in. If you dare to earn 100 grand, that's 50 to 100,000, you're actually going to pay £6,788 more, which is 21.6% more than your employees. If you get your head over that, I'm so depressed I actually had to take a little break after that, because anybody knows the person who's running the business, taking the risk, has to have preferential treatment to the employees because they create the jobs. This is how it works. And this government has not understood that. So she's de-incentivized people to run businesses. Therefore, a lot of businesses will start closing because they can't be treated like employees because they have to pay employer national insurance. So normally they take it, corporation tax plus dividend tax. That's how I based it on those numbers. Tax planning is key. There is ways to mitigate some of this, but you have to be very shrewd on how you structure your income. Really recommend getting good advice. The next bit, number 3, and this may have gone under radar because how she mentioned this was so like it was nothing. She didn't even bother mentioning the rates. And that's because she is clueless about business. I'm sorry if I'm being blunt, but no one mentions reducing 18% down to 14%, something called writing down allowance. This is where you can't claim an investment allowance called annual investment allowance. Use this. This affects so many areas. And she just reduced to 18 to 14%. She didn't even mention the rate. Then after that, she's like, oh yeah, we got this new 40% you can have in the first year on these. But it excludes all the key assets, cars, second-hand assets. Don't really get involved much overseas asset leasing. But the other bit, this will affect anyone who's a property entrepreneur who claims capital allowances. So if you don't get them claimed at the beginning and you're claiming on the writing down, suddenly you'll no longer be able to claim 18%, you'll be claiming 14% from April 2026. That is huge. That allowance was at least 20% just a few years ago. So what they're saying is we're going to give you less relief, because even if you're a car or somebody's, right, or your car in your company, you normally spread it over 5 years. That's 20% if everyone understands that. So that's the benchmark. And she's got it down to 14. So basically, she's giving us no relief. So we're depreciating the asset way quicker than what tax relief we're getting, which is a disgrace. And the last one, number 4, this one will affect a lot of entrepreneurs, and I think a lot of the audience may think, oh, it doesn't affect me because, you know, I ain't got a 2 million plus property. But there's quite a lot of people have, and that's because they printed so much money, inflated the price of the property. Now they've got the nerve to tax you an additional 2.5 to 7.5K based on the property that they printed money to inflate the price. So anyone in the southeast or most parts in the south are going to get hurt a lot for that. That is, I'm going to call it the southern tax, because it's not even called a mansion tax, because you try buying something around here for 2 million, you're thinking you can't get much. That is a disgrace to a lot of people, and there's going to be a lot of upset people, and the people that are creating wealth will get affected by that. Out of principle, I don't think they'll be happy. Number 5, this one is a sneaky one. These, you might have noticed, are very anti-entrepreneurship. This one is probably one of the worst ones, and people probably won't know. It's called Employee Ownership Trust. They create this to keep businesses alive, which pay the taxes, and they realized when people finished, if they couldn't give it to the employees lost all their jobs, and the previous government recognized that and created something called Employee Ownership Trust to incentivize entrepreneurs to make the effort to give it to the employees, set the structure and all the rest through it. Now they're going to reduce that so they don't get 100% relief, they get 50% relief. Why would someone bother doing that when they can go overseas, sell the company and pay 0 tax and let it disappear? Why are you going to... The government, this is what I'm talking about. This is probably one of the most anti-business budgets. I thought the last year budget 2024 was, but that's why I called this ugly news. Budget 2025 November, she has topped it. Rachel, you have topped it. Worse. And we still got the impacts coming from the last year's budget on inheritance tax, which is going to come in, which I did mention a little bit of good news, but it's not that much good news because you're going to have issues on businesses not surviving. I don't think she understands that business survival, continuity is the cornerstone of the whole economy. I'm speechless. You can see I'm not very happy. This is what's happened. Sorry to break the ugly news, but we had to. This is what's going to happen. Get advice to plan for this. There is ways to mitigate some of this, and it's about planning, planning, and planning. I hope you found the update really useful. We covered 3 areas, the good news, the bad news, and the ugly news. And I think Rachel may not be sleeping for another week. She looked like she hadn't slept for a week. She's definitely not going to sleep again for a bit longer. If she's watching, Rachel, shocker, I'm sorry, not good enough. That's the wrap up of November 2025's budget.